Welcome everyone to our next Alumni Rebound Podcast. I am pleased to be with our next guest, and I'm going to ask her to introduce herself, where you're from originally, what you majored in, what you're involved in on campus, when you graduated, and what you're doing now. So I will pass it off to you.
All right, perfect. My name is Maggie Zheng. I graduated JMU in December of 2020. I am originally from New York City, but I did move to Harrisonburg for high school. So I guess I'm a townie. I majored in economics and international affairs, so I was a double major, and I had two minors in Chinese language and Asian studies. And then on top of that, I was also a pre-law student. Some organizations and kind of, I don't want to say things that are kind of was involved in on campus. I was a part of the orientation team. I also did Linkers, which is orientation for international students or international Dukes. I was a sister of Alpha Kappa Delta Phi Sorority Incorporated, which is a multicultural student service or sorority. And then I was also in a pre-law fraternity called Phi Alpha Delta or PAD. So just a little bit about me. And now I'm pursuing my career in real estate investment.
All right, so then let's talk about, so since December, can you take us through the last several months, sort of what you've been doing since you graduated in December?
Right, so I graduated and then also was considering doing my master's program through JMU in Italy, but because of COVID and there's a lot of uncertainty, I decided to pursue a local real estate company here in Harrisonburg called Rocktown Realty. So I do sales and I also do property management, just because I have an interest in flipping houses and kind of like investing in real estate, doing long-term investments. So that's something that I've been kind of working on.
Got it. I'm actually in the market right now. So we've looked at a couple different places and we've seen your signs up on them. So we may have to talk separately.
Okay. I can be your real estate agent as a fellow JMU graduate.
I love it. Okay. So then how did you find this? I mean, did you, when you were looking around, so then you realized the abroad thing wasn't going to work. How did you sort of end up here? Where did this interest come from?
So a little information, it's my family all moved to Harrisonburg a few months ago, or not a few months ago. They've been here in the area for about a decade, but it wasn't until a few months ago that they decided to stay because of they do operate a small local restaurant here in Harrisonburg inside the mall. It's called China Walk, and on the side my dad did construction, so he wanted to retire from that soon and have an extra source of income. So he actually does investment property. So he has a few in Harrisonburg where he rents out. So after seeing that at a young age, just because I came from a first generation immigrant family, like there's always a language barrier between like my parents and just people in general. So from that, I've been exposed to real estate and small business as a child because I always have to interpret and help them translate. So that's how I got exposed to real estate. And one of my really close friends is actually a top selling realtor here in Harrisonburg. So after working with him for a few years, seeing what he kind of does behind the scene, I realized that this is something that really interested me, especially since there's not that many Mandarin speaking Asian agent here in the area. So I was like, why not? So while in my last semester at JMU, I actually was doing real estate as well on top of that. So I was actually getting my license while I was in school. So that was my last semester. It was kind of stressful.
Wow. Okay. So then let's go into some logistics. So where are you living right now?
I currently live with my parents. They have a farmhouse here, and I rent a room from them. But I'm thinking about buying my own place just because it doesn't make sense for me to move out right now.
Sure. And then how did that work? That's actually come up a bunch of times with different folks that are living at home. How did you all do that? Have you made any agreements about rules and all that? So, and it sounds like you said are you paying rent?
So I offer to pay for utilities a little bit just because my family style is kind of different, where they want me to stay with them as much as I can. They don't really want the whole, oh, as soon as you turn 18, you kind of get out of the house. They don't really want that. So I do offer to help pay for groceries and stuff like that, but they're not actually taking any money from my bank account. So that kind of stays.
Okay. And then let's talk a little bit about money. How do you manage money? How do you sort of budget? Do you budget? Sort of how do you manage sort of now that you're out in the real world and you're getting paid and all that, how do you manage your money?
So I think budgeting was something that I really enjoyed doing even as a college student, just because, so I actually have an app on my phone. I don't remember what it's called, but so I keep all my personal expenses there. And I actually find that having 2 separate bank accounts is actually really beneficial, because there is a saying that's like out of sight, out of mind. So I have one for I do have a rental property. So I just keep one separately. So that way, all my business expense kind of goes there, and then my personal one is separate one. So that way I kind of get things separated and separate personal from business. And then I always try to allocate at least 50% of my paycheck into a savings account. That way, if I need to spend any like big money in terms of like investment, or I don't know, like big things that I like, big hospital bills, like, from like unseen things, or who knows, maybe I'll get married in 10 years. I kind of have to save for that. So yeah, at least 50% of my work paycheck I would like to save.
Wow, that's great. I don't hear 50% that often, so that's a great goal. Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of money, so like just in general,
sure,
because I can't go out. I try not to go out and eat and stuff like that. So
okay, so then so guess what, we're in April, so you're a few months out, right? So are there any sort of lessons learned that you have from these first 4 or so months, things that you've learned, figured out, maybe mistakes you're like, oh, I did that, I probably should have done this? So any sort of lessons learned you want to share with other folks that are about to graduate?
For college, or for in the real world?
Sort of the real world stuff, like since you finished.
Right. So I think my biggest thing, like, it was kind of hard for me to transition from college to the real world. And I was in a very, I don't want to say I was in a very dark place before, but I think it's hard for graduate or about to graduate, like graduating seniors, to realize that it is okay to not have a career path, or if that career path was not what you anticipated while you were still at JMU. Because what I had anticipated, what I had imagined of post-bachelor plans it's definitely very different from what I'm doing now. I thought I would be in DC doing government work. Obviously that didn't work out, but that's very okay. And transitioning was very hard, and that's totally okay. But job wise, I feel like, as long as it's something that you're passionate about, something that you want to do, then pursue it. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that sometimes it's not just about the pay, but like it's about what you enjoy. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, no, I agree very much. That's been a really important theme that people have talked about. It's not just about money. It's about, what do you like doing? What do you get the most out of? What fills you up? What fulfills you is more important than just what will pay you the most. So
I definitely agree.
So let's talk about sort of more personal stuff, like how about sort of being healthy, exercise, eating. A lot of times people struggle once they, don't have access to the dining halls and UREC and those types of things, how life changes. So anything on that for you, how you sort of transition with health and well-being and all that?
So I'm not gonna lie, I really do want to go back to UREC. And I was looking at their alumni plan since I'm still in the area. So that's something that I am still considering. But I know a lot of people are really afraid of COVID, or they're really cautious right now because of COVID. So at-home exercises, I've been doing Chloe Ting, and she was a big thing during quarantine, and I picked it up, and I'm still doing it at least once a week. I try to. I feel like mental health is definitely very important, even in the real world, because, you know, in college, we were stressing out about like course loads. And then after college, we're stressing out about work stuff. So I feel like, you know, if you can take the time, 30 minutes even, either before or after work, to just kind of like walk around, kind of breathe some fresh air. It's also really, what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficial. So I do that with my dog. So we go on morning walks for at least 30 minutes every morning before I start my day. And that usually puts me in a really good mood throughout the day. Food wise, I can't really say much. I've gained, like, my weight has been fluctuating ever since after college because I eat what I have access to. And sometimes if it's McDonald's, it is what it is.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And then one of the things that's been interesting, and I'm wondering about this for you, a bunch of people have talked about how they sleep more now that they're not in college. And is that true for you? Not true for you? Has that been a shift or no?
I definitely sleep less now than I did in college, but that's just because like my work isn't like a typical 9 to 5. I'm an independent contractor, so I kind of control my schedule. And a lot of times, like, a lot of my clients aren't in the US, so they're usually like, I have clients in Asia and in Australia, and we have a time difference. So I always find myself either sleeping really late at night to communicate with them or waking up really, really early. But I do take naps. So I guess if you count naps in, then overall sleep does increase, but my nighttime, like, to, you know, when people should be sleeping, that has decreased.
Got it. Okay. And then, so tell me about friends. You obviously had friends at JMU. How have you stayed in touch with them? How have you managed that? Because often we take that for granted that normally our friends are either living next door or nearby and they're easier to get. And you're obviously still here, so there's maybe some benefit, but maybe the friends aren't. So how have you sort of maintained, or have you maintained those friendships?
I've definitely made a lot of strong connections through my organizations, and then also in like being a part of orientation and linkers. I feel like some friends, like it hit me a while back that, you know, I'm never gonna be with them. They're never gonna be like right next door to me, and we're never going to spend as much time as we do together in college. And that's something it was hard for me to grasp, just because I'm a very much people person. But just because I feel like you graduated doesn't mean that you can't hang out occasionally, talk on the phone. So what me and a lot of my close friends do is we do the Netflix parties. So sometimes we'll watch a movie together and we'll all be on the Netflix chat, or sometimes we just do Zoom call. I know it's kind of weird because we can do FaceTime, but FaceTime, I think you can't see everyone. So we prefer to do Zoom calls where we kind of all catch up and see how we're doing. I still stay in connections with some of my sisters in my sorority. So whenever they have events, they're like, oh, we really want alumni to come back and kind of like talk to them. So we do that, but it's definitely a hard transition post school life, just because like all your friends, they kind of have their own career path. Some of us are like starting families, some of us are really busy with our careers, so it's really hard to find time. But I feel like some of my, at least some of the friends that I made in college are going to be some of my best friends I've ever made. So that connection's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think some people have really struggled to maintain those friendships. So I'm glad you've been able to keep in touch with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so a couple more questions here. Next one is, what would you say are the biggest differences between JMU life and post JMU life?
I want to say the community that we have. So at JMU, I feel like everyone was kind of very similar in terms of, we were here, we love our school, we all had something in common that we shared. But out in the real world, it's very different. Like, I can't expect people to kind of be as, like, of course some people are nice, and then you're gonna have that anywhere that you go. You're gonna have people that you just don't connect with. But I feel like at JMU, everyone was very accepting, and just the community that we had at JMU, even JMU itself, and then the Harrisonburg community was kind of different. So I felt like I was very sheltered while I was at JMU, and out in the real world, you kind of have to be more accepting to criticism and more yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going with this.
No, I'm with you. I think that, one of the ways someone said it is that there's no syllabus for life after college,
Right.
is one thing, but then also there's not as many protections
Right.
in the real world as there isn't, like if you don't do well in one class, you got repeat forgive. There's no repeat forgive in the real world. And, there's none of those there's not as much openness for mistakes and things like that. Now they're your mistakes, almost like you were saying career stuff, like that's your career now. So it's not, you're not in someone else's class, you're in your career and in your life.
Right.
So, yeah.
Agree with that 100%. I really like that. There's no syllabus.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to use that from now.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, one of the values of this, Maggie, is that these conversations are going to be part of the syllabus for the next generation coming out. I'm hoping they'll watch these and hear your experience, and you're giving them maybe not a syllabus, but you're giving them different paths to consider. You're the first person who said you're trying to save 50% of your paycheck every paycheck. Someone's going to hear that and say, gosh, I wonder if I could do that. So you're hopefully giving people some paths to consider. So that's why this is so valuable.
Wow.
Well, let me give you one more big question. And then if you have anything else you want to share after that, but I want you to imagine that this is now your last semester, because we've got seniors who are about to graduate in about 12 days.
Right.
So I want to imagine that I want you to imagine you're 12 days from graduation. What advice would you give them? What do you wish someone had told you? However you want to sort of share your life wisdom and experience with the class of 2021 that's about to graduate.
So first to start, I kind of want to say congratulations. You finally made it. Like all your hard work has paid off. So my sister is one of those students that's going to be graduating in 12 days. And I feel like when I graduated, since I had to figure a lot of things out on my own, just because I came from a first generation immigrant, like I was the first one in my family to go to college. So I didn't really have that much help in terms of getting into college, like the protocols, the steps that you had to take. But something that I also told my sister is, after college, there is no correct timeline. There is no correct step that you have to follow. If you want to take a break and then do grad school, do your, med school, do your postgraduate program, like that's okay. If you want to take a year off before you find a job, that's okay. I think a lot of times, like people, like we kind of get overwhelmed by the fact of like social norms of people finding jobs right after college, or we having a job lined up right after college, and I don't think that's necessary. So it's just take the time to do what you really want to do. There is no hurry, there is no rush to find like I don't want to say there's no hurry, like you don't have to find a job, but there is no like correct way. So if you want to find a job and then do graduate school, that's okay. So there's not like a path that you have to follow.
No, that's great. That's such a great thing, because I think that so many times you see one person does something, you're like, oh, the guy, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I did it wrong.
Yeah.
So really that it's not that everyone has their own approach and their own path
Right.
that they can follow. So yeah, that's
Right.
great.
Right.
So then any other final thoughts, any other final updates or lessons you want to leave with everybody?
Not really lessons, just because I feel like everyone kind of does everything in their pace. But I just kind of want to say congratulations to the class of 2021. I know this whole education aspect was not easy for anyone, just because like we kind of graduated in the middle of a pandemic, and we still are. A lot, transitioning from in person to hybrid or virtual class, like that did take a toll in our college career. That was something that I wish that I could have changed, but I'm not complaining and I'm not mad about any of it, because like at the end of the day, we were still able to graduate. We were still able to get our diploma.
Yeah. And then do you want to give a special shout out to your sister who's about to graduate?
Yeah. I want to say congratulations to my younger sister, Anna Zheng. She has contributed a lot to JMU. She was a part of a lot of organizations. She was the frog orientation. So I'm really, really proud of you.
All right, we'll make sure that that's included. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us, and thanks for what you did for JMU, and maybe I'll see you around the house buying network out there in the world.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Do the same. Bye-bye.
Bye.